I guess is what you'd feel like in any department inside Discovery.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about that as well is, do you think that having that as sort of your first job or your first role within Discovery was helpful then when you moved across to health R&D and you moved into product design? Because obviously now your understanding of healthcare and of quality healthcare would inform the way that you build product.
Definitely, I 100% agree with you. But it's also like difficult to say though, because I don't know how it would have been.
Had it not been the case, yeah, 100%.
Exactly, because I feel like I have that attitude of like making the most with what I have.
Yeah.
So I think if it wasn't the
Great
case,
trait, by the way.
thanks. I'm pretty sure you also. But yeah, definitely, because what that department had was like a really good technical foundation. So in terms of like the actuaries that are still in that department, you learn a lot from them, because in healthcare, I think the most valuable thing that you can have is experience. Because it's such an unconventional space. Like you learn how to deal with problems and like solve like complex calculations through experience. And luckily, like I had the opportunity to work with a lot of experienced healthcare actuaries like in that space. So coming out of that space, like I had such a good familiarity in terms of like how to structure networks, how to think about referral pathways, how to think about readmissions, like what does a good hospital look like how do you risk adjust appropriately, like how do you manage like complex patients in disease management programs, like all of these different tools that inside the previous department, like inside risk intelligence, actually it felt like isolated spaces.
Yeah.
It felt like these like different like tools that you have to manage risks.
Yeah.
But moving out of that space, it gave me that overarching sight to say that like there's all of these tools and they actually work holistically together in symbiosis almost.
Yeah.
So definitely agree with you, because I had the opportunity to see what they look at a granular level.
Yeah.
And stepping away from it was just like completely different. But I had a good understanding of like the intricate details.
Yeah.
To actually like make more of it by stepping away and combining them all in product design.
I think it's fantastic. I think, now that we've moved sort of towards product design, can you describe to our audience sort of what is product design and how do you go about it? Because I think it's something that you're introduced to in honors, but you actually have no idea. You might understand what a financial product is, but you don't understand what it takes to go from identifying a need in the market to actually creating some sort of product. So that you're meeting that need and then making sure that the people that you actually have created this product for are the ones that are actually leveraging it. Can you just speak to that whole sort of cycle?
Yes, so product design is actually so interesting. It's such an exciting process in the like you probably like miss it thinking back.
I do. I mean, I think for me, what I loved about it is you felt like you were being creative. And I think that that's not something that is often emphasized in actuarial science, is that yes, there is that element of data and you leveraging, that sort of insight, but there's also that element of saying, okay, well, what do you do with that insight? And then there's that element of creativity. And when I found out that, I was like, why didn't no one even tell me about this? Like I can create beautiful things that protect people. And so that creativity for me was very stimulating.
Yes, completely agree with you. Hey, like whenever I think about like product design, like the key thing, like I almost see like this, like very like all of these bright colors, because everything just becomes like so exciting.
It's own.
So, but product design is also messy. Like you would know that as well. Product design can be a lot of things.
Sometimes you just like, I don't care anymore. Like we must start from scratch.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been in the product design space for about 2.5 years now. Sure, it's actually quite long. But yeah, so in essence, like product design can start like at any point. Like it's not like as clearly structured as the actuarial science notes really say it. Like you would know as well. And it's also about like product redesign, product revisiting. 100%. So it's a lot of things, but if I had to like sum it up, like the process or like just like walking through it, like from my perspective, like I would think it like depends like on the project and like the department and like the actuarial space that you work in. But from like the projects that I've been involved in, like it always starts off with a need. Like there's some inefficiency that gets picked up either by yourself or by someone in like the healthcare business. And then it's almost saying that, how do we fix this? Like, how do we make this better for the client?
Yeah.
So, and from there on, you're always constrained by these factors. So you have like a lot of like brainstorming sessions.
I used to love those.
Oh, it is the most exciting time. Like you would remember from the R&D lab with the little sticky notes that you
Yes,
paste
stick them on the wall.
and just
They were different colors for different product. It was amazing.
yes, and getting like new views, because usually with these brainstorming sessions, like the key thing is like there's not like one bearer of creativity of problem solving.
It's like all ideas are welcome. Also, what I loved about the brainstorming sessions was that we often got people from different teams around the business. So they would have a different view of the business and would then bring that lens to the brainstorm. And they would sometimes come with such insights where you're like, oh, I never thought about that. But it's because you weren't close to marketing or you weren't close to systems or whatever.
Yes, exactly, yeah. But sometimes even those brainstorming sessions can also be like a bit like disorganized in terms of like taking the process like in a different path that you actually wanted to take it, but then that opens up like a new product design cycle, which is also so exciting because like you actually thought about solving one thing, but then you discover there's actually something bigger here, and then you solve for something bigger, but still solving like for the same problem that you had at the beginning. So going through those brainstorming sessions and like unpacking the problem and understanding it, those are like crucial, and then like uncovering the solution and potential solutions, and then going from there to actually like go back to the numbers, because that's what I really love about like our job. I'm speaking our like as if you're still there.
I am in spirit.
Because you get to go and do the technical work. Like it's not a matter of fact that you lose all of these technical skills that you worked on so long. It's almost like you have like this very open mind in terms of like what the problem is, but now you go back to your computer and like to all of the data sets that you have, and you unpack what does the data say. And at Discovery, like we have a wealth of data, so it's actually like you get so many insights. But sometimes like if you don't have the data at hand, like doing like research like through surveys or focus groups, or like contacting like a research agency and like doing like research through that, like that's also something that like I didn't expect to do ever as an actuary actually. So just like almost like making sure that you have like a very clear understanding of the problem. I think that's like the biggest part about like product design cycles is like unpacking the problem. And not getting disheartened at that point thinking that this is too big of a problem to solve. And then after having like this like very like good understanding of it, like going into the potential solutions. And I think it's so easy to just like settle for one solution, or like going like for what needs to be implemented like really quickly or something. So you always like brainstorm a range of potential solutions or like opportunities that can like stem from this problem. And then checking in with the different teams again to get their inputs.
And also see what's possible.
Yeah, Margie.
Especially from like a systems perspective. Because I mean, I remember you know, you dream up this beautiful, intricate product and systems would be like, okay, that will take like 2 years to build. And you're like, okay, let's simplify it. So it's, and I think that's a very important thing to highlight in product design is that element of collaboration. Even though you are heading up the design, if you want to call it that, and you writing the product spec, and I used to love writing this product spec, you have to take into consideration all the other teams that have to implement the product. And that for me was also an interesting learning in that you don't function within a silo.
Yeah, especially because like the products that you design in healthcare, like they have so many touch points. Like it's touching the doctor at the end, like it's touching the member, it's touching our claim system,
100%.
Our underwriting processes.
100%.
There's so many like touch points that you need to make sure that your solution that you're creating is actually viable in all of those spheres. And making sure that that solution is actually like possible like in these different fields. Checking in with those teams and making sure that you're actually able to communicate well enough like what your solution is. Like I've never valued the communication module that we had at university up until this point. It's such a crucial skill, being able to communicate something completely new. Because that's the key thing, like all of the things that we're designing is completely novel in this space. So you need to like communicate it in such a way that's like understandable, but you also need to like understand like the jargon of the team that you're communicating it to, which is sometimes challenging because you carry this vision and you need to make sure that the teams that's implementing it
buy into it.
Exactly.
And understand it. I think that was something I also realized is that because you have various people implementing it, if they don't understand fully what it is that you're trying to do with the product, then the implementation is sometimes different to what you had sort of envisioned. So you keep having to touch base with people, and there's that element of oversight that you have to be like, okay, no, that's not actually what I meant. I meant it's like this. kind of thing. Like you can't go to a nurse and a GP, you can only go to a nurse or whatever. Like just like making them understand how you priced it also, because I think there's also an element of it where if it's not implemented the way that you have designed it, it's then difficult to make sure that your pricing actually plays out in reality. I mean, that's difficult on a good day, right? Yeah. But if it's been now implemented completely differently to how you envisage, then there's this risk that your pricing is going to blow out.
Yes, and also like just the customer experience like tied to that, because making sure that this whole product is just positioned in a way like that the customer sees the value in it as well.
Yeah.
Thinking about things like app designs, like I never thought that I would sit with UX designers.
I know.
And tell them,
I love that as well.
Oh, it's such an amazing
I was like, should we change it to green as opposed to blue? And I was like, no one told me this when we part of my job. It's so fabulous.
Yes, it's such an amazing experience. But like seeing like these different teams working on this product that you scoped out, and just seeing these different components come to life, like when they do testing. And first, like seeing like all of the bugs that they're picking up, but then also like seeing like that it works completely smoothly. Like this very complicated project that when you scoped it out, like you thought you had like this very thick project spec saying what it should look like, and just like actually seeing all of these different teams putting their minds to the problem, solving for it. Especially like the UX screens, like when I do like any like app screens and I see like the end result, I just get so excited because
I love it.
That's when it's tangible. And then after that, obviously, like when you have like this like fully built product, you can actually like see like when it goes into like the launch cycle, when our technical marketing team takes it and like they design these like beautiful slides, like showing the market,
and
like
journeys and like those discoveries with those beautiful pamphlets. It's stunning.
And my favorite part is like reading about your work in the US. I've done 2 options. Like I created like 2 plans at Discovery Now, and every single time like I send it to my family. Like I'm like, I made this.
I'm
like,
exactly the same. I remember when I had designed the primary care product, and they were advertised on the app. I was taking screenshots and I'm sending it to all my friends, being like, look at this thing that I made, you know? And it's just, it is amazing because you've seen it come from nothing. And it wasn't just you. So obviously there's a massive team behind it, but it's beautiful to see how you can create value and how many people buy into that, and then how it's sort of so beautifully presented. And then later on, when you see the claims come through,
oh, and you see people buying your product.
And people also giving like reviews, like this is fantastic product, really meets my needs. Like, I don't know, like it just brings tears to my eyes because I'm like, this is what it's all about, you know, like it's, and they don't know who I am, and that's fine. They don't need to know who I am, but knowing that they are helped because you saw a need and you designed this product is incredible.
Yes, but also that thought, it's such an important thing to remember, like during the whole product cycle. It's not some theoretical exercise.
Nice.
I think like we're trained like in actuarial science so many times, like it's just theory, it's just like an Excel workbook, it's just a model.
It's just numbers.
Exactly, but it's not like, it's actually like a person, like
people.
The journey that you're designing, like there's actually going to be someone's mom in the queue at the hospital, and you're determining her experience.
Yeah.
Like you have such an impact, and to just be mindful of that. Like never take a shortcut, like always like strive for the best solution possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, it's incredible. It's incredible. So I hope for our audience that if you didn't know about product design, that you add it to your list of things that you want to do at least once in your career, because I think it was a very defining period for me as a developing actuary. One of my last questions I'd like to ask you is, I know that you are continually studying. I saw you the other day. I went to dinner with one of my friends, and Aldu was sitting in this Seattle studying, and I was like, sure, you know, should I be studying too? So tell me, what studies are you doing, and why is it sort of beneficial to you, or what is your sort of plan with those studies going forward?
It was actually so nice seeing you there. It was like a good study break, like a quick chat. So if you chat to my friends, like all of them will probably tell you that I'm a lifelong learner. I never stop studying. Even my previous manager made comments about it, like, when are you ever going to stop studying? So I decided at the end of last year that, so let me maybe take a pause. Like I always wanted to do a PhD, and I enrolled for a PhD during COVID because I really wanted to. Yes, like, you know, I didn't bake banana bread. I enrolled for a PhD.
Yeah. Wow, that's an amazing way of putting it.
And I love working in coffee shops so much, like hence why you found me in Seattle studying.
Yes.
But because of COVID and the lockdown, like I just couldn't like find myself to write anything. So then like I paused my studies. Like I